on ATV.
Okay, clearly.
Live at 5 goes high-tech tonight.
Yes, microchips are changing our lives. We're going to look into the future at the Atlantic Computer Show tonight, live at 5.
Now, from the ATV News Center at every city and town in the Maritimes, this is the ATV Evening News, live at 5.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Live at 5 for Wednesday, September 15th. I'm Nancy Regan.
And I'm Paul Mennier, a somewhat more computer-literate Paul Mennier than I was this morning, although it's hard to keep up. There's just so much stuff out there, even if you pore over books all the time, and you just can't keep up.
You didn't have an extra microchip put in your brain or anything, did you?
No, nothing that was covered by the medical plan anyway, Nancy, so we can't talk about it.
All right, that's coming up. Also, here's another look at some of the other stories our ATV reporters are preparing for tonight's show.
I'm Fonz Jessom at Queen Elizabeth High School in Halifax, where the students have quite a bit to say about the province's decision to eliminate detention as a form of punishment. You'll hear from them coming up on Live at 5.
I'm Alex Bass in Moncton. Classroom discipline. Are teachers having problems controlling students? I'll have more later on Live at 5.
I'm Ron Shaw in Dieppe, and everyone is hoping that the Expos are going to be able to hit a lot better than that this weekend. I'll have more later on Live at 5.
Also on the program tonight, has anyone ever taken your money over the phone and not delivered the goods? Telemarketing frauds rip people off to the tune of $20 million each year. But ATV's Yvonne Colbert is on your side tonight with a solution. And later, we'll tool into tune time. No, let's say we'll tune into tool time. Do we have a tool that can fix the announcer's mouth? A sneak preview of the sizzling new season of Home Improvement. Tim talks better than I tonight. Better than me.
Paul Mennier likes that show so much he gets worked up about thinking about it, you know. All this and much more is ahead on the Wednesday edition of Live at 5. Before we get underway, Steve Murphy is working on the ATV Evening News at 6. Steve, any tools around here?
It sounds like Paul was chewing on a wrench or something, doesn't it? Anyway, here's what's coming up tonight at the ATV Evening News at 6 o'clock. It's an exclusive about politicians who say the times are tough, and yet some are flying off into the wild blue yonder. Even back home, they threaten higher taxes and spending cuts. So why are they winging their way to exotic locations like Cyprus at the taxpayers' expense? Well, the politician in question says it's business as usual. Also tonight, we have new information about murder victim Giselle Pelsman and where she went after she caught a bus home. And while the federal government claims it has a good record on law and order, we hear from a maritime merchant who says he doesn't feel any safer than he used to, and just take a look at why. We have more on that coming up tonight on the ATV Evening News at 6 o'clock. Right now, though, it's time for our first pass look at the maritime weather forecast. Richard is off, but Phil's there at the ATV Weather Center. Evening, Phil.
Right, Steve. Well, the day of summertime weather across the Maritimes today. Very warm. I guess we could say hot, especially in interior New Brunswick. Temperatures into the low 30s, so very, very hot up there. But that'll all change tonight and through tomorrow. Cold front going through, change of air mass, and down go our temperatures. Well, actually back where they should be for this time of year. I'll be back later, of course, and take a look at the complete weathercast for the Maritimes here on ATV and Live at 5. Back to you.
Okay, Phil, weather here at 5:30, and then at 6 o'clock, all the day's top stories, including the federal Liberals' long-awaited election platform, reaction to it, and a brand new government program designed to generate jobs and investments here in the Maritimes. Question is, will it work? We ask a company that stands to benefit if it does tonight on your evening news at 6 o'clock, right after Live at 5 with Nancy and old Toolmouth there.
I know he means that in the nicest way.
I'm sure he does.
We are putting school discipline first at 5 tonight. You know, it may be one of the toughest challenges facing educators today.
You know, detention may soon be taken out of the arsenal of Nova Scotia teachers battling discipline problems in the classroom. The new Liberal government hopes to make detention and out-of-school suspensions a thing of the past. Instead, counseling troubled students will be the way of the future.
ATV's Fonz Jessom has been talking with some interested parties about this educational issue. Fonz.
Nancy, it's not surprising that high school students have a great deal to say about discipline in school. What is a bit surprising is that many of them feel their schools need more discipline. And while they want more control in the classroom, they tend to agree with Nova Scotia's new education minister that detention has probably outlived its usefulness as a way to keep students in line.
Elaine? Elaine? Okay.
Nova Scotia's education minister is about to change the way teachers handle problem students.
It's our hope
that in the future, detention and out-of-school suspension will in fact be a thing we don't have to deal with anymore because we address the problems as they appear appropriately.
In the future, teachers will turn problem students over to the principal and continue teaching. Principals will then decide how to help the student. Not all of these teens are convinced counseling is the answer.
I've seen people go through counseling before and it hasn't worked. They just come back and do the same thing all over again.
The kids have to want counseling and they have to want help for it to do anything for them. And if they don't want it, then it won't work.
Teens agree discipline problems in the class are disruptive and they have a few ideas of their own about how it should be dealt with.
A form of punishment should be more of getting them to do something constructive, getting kids who are out of line to do something constructive, like help clean up the school or help anything constructive.
I think the best punishment for students would just be taking off their marks, because that all students, you know, they're here to learn and they want their marks.
Maybe extra assignments or something like that, something where you have to actually do work so it would be considered a punishment, because staying in school, you don't really do anything in that extra half an hour.
Many say the government is on the right track. Detention to them is a nuisance, not a deterrent.
Detention never worked for me. I think it's a bad thing because it doesn't work.
What would work for you?
I don't know. If they brought back the strap, that would probably do it.
Well, whenever I was told to go, I usually skipped it, and then I had to go to detention the next day, and then I skipped it again and again and again. So it doesn't really work too well.
It just makes bad relations between the kid and the teacher.
It doesn't really accomplish anything, because it's just people just sitting around thinking, oh, I hate school, it's kind of a drag and everything.
The students aren't the only ones with advice for the new minister. The new education opposition critic also has a few words.
I think that we all have to have a little discipline in our lives. And I think if we all remember, I don't think I was a constant problem in school, but obviously there were times when I had to be disciplined, and I don't think that was harmful to me, and I don't.
And those Nova Scotia students who think detention is no longer in their futures better behave a little bit longer. The education minister says the new discipline policy will not be in place in the province's schools until next September. Nancy?
Fons, I guess the minister believes that detention ignores the problem, the discipline problem. Is that it?
Exactly, yes. He says he wants to take a more philosophical approach to discipline within the schools, an approach he says he used when he was a vice principal himself, to deal with the problem, not just the symptom, that being the acting out.
All right. Thank you, Fons.
Thank you.
ATV's Fons Jessom in Halifax. Here's Paul.
Nancy, ensuring discipline in the classroom is getting tougher for teachers. There is a growing problem in schools in this region, especially with a greater awareness by students of their individual rights. Now, ATV's Alex Bass joins us from Moncton. Alex, what's being done to address that?
Well, here in New Brunswick, a number of studies have been done to look at the problem of discipline in the classroom. The Minister of Education here has said he wants something done, and teachers, too, are looking for guidelines. They want to know where they stand.
Teachers are facing more and more disruptions in the classroom, and it's not restricted to one school or even one grade level. There is little respect, it seems, for teachers, and in some cases, even violence.
The number of incidences that we deal with in the classroom are becoming broader in terms of the focus, what it actually is. It's not your airplanes flying through the air anymore, or a piece of chalk or an eraser. There are a lot of problems that we're encountering.
It's been about 10 years since the strap was banned as a disciplinary tool in school. Teachers, however, are still struggling to find other ways to control students. But it's a job that the Home and School Association says cannot be left just to the schools.
The parents are the ones that have to back up the teachers that are disciplining their students, and particularly the ones that are discipline problems.
There are people who are dealing with those students the other hours of the day, and they have an impact.
The preliminary findings from a study done by the New Brunswick Teachers Association finds a need for guidelines and policies so that teachers, parents, and students know what can be done to ensure discipline in the classroom.
We have to investigate, examine other ways of controlling some of the more severe behavioral disruptive problems in classrooms, because the average student has a right to an education, and we have to...
The approach that has to be taken must be a joint one. You have to include teachers, parents, and even the community as a whole must get involved, because what's happening is we're seeing more and more violence throughout the community, and that is working its way into the classroom, and it's being placed basically on the shoulders of the teachers, and they just can't handle it by themselves.
Alex, do school boards have the time, and I guess maybe this is the issue, not so much time, but in these times, the money to deal with disciplinary problems?
No, that's the big problem, Paul. They have the methods, they know what they need to do for disciplinary problems, but if they don't have the money and the resources and the teachers with all the cutbacks happening, they just can't address it properly. And until that happens, we may still continue to have disciplinary problems in the classroom.
All right, thank you. Alex Vass reporting live from Moncton. Nancy.
Thank you, Paul. Parents, Sydney police, teachers, and officials from the Cape Breton District School Board are working to stop large crowds of students from a few Sydney schools from gathering and fighting. A recent incident has left parents there concerned about the safety of their children. ATV's Greg Boone joins us from Cape Breton with more on the story. Greg.
Nancy, school board officials described the fight and related gathering as an isolated incident. But all those involved say it's going to take cooperation to make sure it doesn't continue.
Fortunately, no children at this point, at least that we're aware of, have been injured, and we're very thankful of that, and we just don't want to see anybody hurt.
Parents are concerned. On Friday, 150 to 200 students from 3 Sydney schools gathered to watch a fight among students. There are reports that a few of the youths were carrying bats and chains. Police dispersed the group. There were no serious injuries reported, and one bat was seized from the trunk of a car. To help understand part of this story, we had a short lesson in student street culture. We learned about terms like skaters, boarders, and freaks. Those are the groups of students who display different styles of hair or clothing, or have different interests, like alternative music or skateboarding. Students say people from one school are offended by the so-called freaks and turn to fighting to solve their problem.
It's just about two prejudiced parties fighting because each one is different. That's all it's all about.
Like, just because they dress different and they act different and they're different than other people, then other people go ahead and they just start with them. And it's just stupid. It's prejudice.
Max McDonald's son attends one of the schools. As a parent, he wants to see this type of thing stopped.
We believe that there's probably only a few ringleaders behind this, and a lot of the other children are followers.
A group of parents met with police and school board officials and are now appealing to other parents to speak with their children.
To try and encourage their own children to get home as quickly as possible after school, not to get involved in groups building in size if they see them, to try and avoid large groups.
Parents say they don't want their children growing up or being educated in fear. They say the problem must be dealt with before it escalates. Concerned parents are circulating a letter to media outlets explaining their and their children's fears. They also say that it's something that parents should do, is take a better role in their social and educational lives of their children. Nancy, Paul.
All right, thank you, Greg. ATV's Greg Boone in Sydney. It's interesting to hear what some teenagers have to say about discipline in schools. You know, some of them were saying it should be more strict.
Some like it strict, some like it don't. And some figure out ways to get around the discipline issue, as we've seen.
You're right. Well, up next on Live at 5, computers are a fact of life these days.
No question about it. You see them every night here on ATV. I mean, these things behind me are very important to what we do every day. We write our shows with them.
Yeah, we write them. They don't write the shows.
Yeah. Oh, when they can do that, then we'll have it made. We have reporters, of course, from around the region filing their scripts to us on our computers. They even do our timing for us. A very important part. I can't remember when we used to type the stuff?
Long time ago. That was back there with
on
the strap.
paper?
Coming up next, Paul will take us to a computer show where the latest in high technology is on display. We have hardware, software, and hey, everything in between next on Live at 5.
Double clicking speed here. If I like to click slower, I can do that just by dragging this over. Okay, I can make it really fast. And you can test it here. See, I could just try and do that.
And I thought it was going to be a home run.
As close as you can get. Looks like a short fence in that field. Hey, there's no fence at all. Ground rule double it was, Nancy. Kids having a lot of fun in Moncton today. Ought to be playing a little ball.
Well, the 10th Atlantic Computer Show is underway in Halifax. Different kind of fun. It's drawing people from all over the region.
Hey, no mistake about it, Nancy. You can have a ball with computers.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're kind of computer literate here in that, we were talking about the computers, which you can see immediately behind us, and we work with them every day here, but essentially they're really, I guess, glorified word processors here. They're very important to us, very fine. They keep us in communication with reporters around our region, but you know, there's a lot more out there, and in fact, Nancy, you don't really have to be computer literate to be amazed and impressed by what's available in 1993.
So I typed in ATV. Now the next time I wrote it, obviously, it now understands ATV.
This is one of the newest gadgets around. The $900 Newton is an amazing little notebook.
Thinking in the future, if you want to go to the grocery store and you want to total up your own groceries, you'll be able to use the device just to scan the barcode reading and it'll come on your Newton. When you go back home, you can just push a button and it'll go into your Mac, into your home accounting package, keep track of things.
What is it, $6 grand?
Yeah.
So somebody who shells out $6,000 for this is using it primarily for what?
High-end, you know, portability they want. They're on the road all the time, but they want speed and they want performance. You know, this is the notebook for them.
Hi, ATV.
Hi, ATV. Hi, Marnie. Every day, thousands of people around the world communicate on Internet, a cooperative global computer communication system. Marnie, I have to get back to work. Nice talking to you. This is, of course, much more than a 90s version of the CB, good buddy. Global communication is good business, too.
It's on the Internet.
Roswell James put his Halifax computer bookstore on Internet. He's gone from a corner store retailer to international dealer.
Switzerland, Norway, a lot from the U.S. And one of my first sales was to a university in Michigan, in the United States. This is a book that's published in the United States, sold to Canada, and we turned around and sold it back to the United States.
The future is definitely here at our fingertips. I think the great hurdle is to get the message out to both the business consumer and the personal home consumer. Technology is there today. The question is how quickly do people want to embrace it.
Cool sounds, eh? Cool sounds. From musicians who are all about, what, that big?
Little silicon musicians.
Little teeny weeny guys. How many of them you got in there?
About 128 different sounds, and 16 musicians can be playing at once.
Wow.
16 little guys.
So this is a 16-track recording studio.
That's right.
The hardware is mind-boggling, and the programs are limited only by one's imagination. For instance, this program for about $100 contains over 150 different contracts. Say goodbye to your lawyer for some things. So you got any lawyer friends who are saying, hey, Jerry, why you do this to me?
Well, one of the lawyers that work with us, help us on the package, she sold her boyfriend a distributorship, so I guess she kind of believes in the package, too.
Could you give Kevin some hair?
Yeah, we could give Kevin hair, sure. It might take us a while. There's a lot of work to be done there, but we could give him some hair.
Oh, that's a good thing to
I
have.
don't think it's got enough memory for that.
Yeah. You want to stick around this? See, I had to throw that shot in just to appease the lawyers. You're saying, how could you dare tell them about that software that's available that'll do up all our contracts for us? And of course, you still need lawyers, folks.
Kevin.
Don't phone me, all you lawyers out there. But I threw that shot in to say that our jobs could be in jeopardy someday, too. The multimedia stuff that's available. I mean, you can have a pretty decent TV production studio right in your own living room.
Don't say that.
Oh, yeah, that's
hey,
right.
And Kevin Nickel may be looking for a lawyer after the comment you made about his hair.
I don't think he's that mean-spirited, Nancy.
Neat piece. All right. Well, from one end of the technology spectrum to the other, long before we had computers to predict things like the weather, we had the good old Farmer's Almanac. We'll check out this year's hot off the presses edition later.
But up next, predictions of another variety. Will there be a Canadian team in